The Imsa GTD class is once again the largest class on the 2025 grid. Consisting of both professional and amateur drivers alike, this class is a stepping stone for the stars of tomorrow. And while many of these cars look like they've just been taken off the streets, with manufacturers such as Corvette, Mercedes, and Porsche, make no mistake that these are proper race cars. Grand Touring Daytona, or GTD for short, is one of the two classes in the Imsa Weathertech Sports Car Championship that utilize GT3 spec cars. GT3 cars bear heavy resemblance to their road-going counterparts, but are full-on race cars that are optimized for performance on track. That's why when you see them on track, they will look very similar to, say, a BMW or a Lexus that you'd see on the streets. Now, all of the cars that compete in this class are homologated by the FIA. This means that the car manufacturers, not the teams, submit their car to the sanctioning body for approval and to make sure that it meets all of the technical requirements. The car manufacturers then sell these cars to the various teams. Since all manufacturers need to complete this process, it means that all the cars are fairly equal in terms of on-track performance. However, they're still not perfectly equal. Let's not forget that these cars still heavily resemble their road-going counterparts, and thus these different cars can have very different characteristics. Engine positioning, different aerodynamic elements, all of these things contribute to different handling and different areas where a car can make speed. As a result, there's a BOP, or balance of performance, that's applied to the cars to help further level the playing field. This BOP, which can vary from track to track, help ensure that the cars remain fairly even in terms of their potential performance levels. This is done by adjusting certain limits on the car, things like horsepower, weight, engine management, and aerodynamic elements. And something new to the GT classes that compete in Imsa this year will be the introduction of torque sensors. These torque sensors attach to the rear axles of the car and feed the governing body constant performance information. Imsa will be able to monitor things such as horsepower, torque, and acceleration data constantly. And through the use of these torque sensors, they're going to be able to craft a better BOP and also be able to better police BOP infractions that may or may not be going on. At the end of the day, having this BOP process, as well as the homologation process, ensures that one manufacturer of a car does not have a large advantage on the track. It ultimately helps keep things equal. And as a result of all of this, manufacturers and teams are not always looking for creative innovations, which in turn helps keep the costs of running these cars in check. The complete opposite of this would be a series like F1, where there's a constant flow of money and resources being put into the cars to extract every last thousandth of a second. Let's talk about a little of the history in the class now, and the GTD class of Imsa has been a constant in the series, as it was created during the merger of the American Le Mans series and the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car series ahead of the 2014 season. It brought together the American Le Mans series GTC cars and Grand Am's GT cars to compete together in the new unified GTD class. The GTD class that we know today now only features GT3 spec cars, and those were adopted by Imsa for the 2016 season. And the addition of these cars, which feature both traction control and ABS, has been wildly successful. Today, the class has grown to be the largest on the Imsa grid, and when combined with the GTD Pro class, which also features GT3 spec cars, usually makes up about half the grid. The success of the GT3 spec can largely be attributed to the many championships and races that these cars are eligible to compete in around the world. This means that you can take your car, run it in GTD, and take that same car and run it in another championship or race on the other side of the world. However, we're going to talk about that more in just a minute. Now, before we move on, I just want to quickly tell you about the S's newsletter. Here, I send you everything you need to know heading into each and every Imsa race weekend. It's completely free and a great way to make sure you stay up to date on all your Imsa news throughout the season. You can check that out by clicking the link in the show notes or by heading to offinthes.com. Now, for the average fan, the GTD class features the most recognizable cars out on track, again due to their close resemblance to their road legal counterparts. However, they're also the slowest cars on the Imsa grid. The cars do feature ABS and traction control, but generally speaking, the pro drivers don't really need this. However, it makes it much easier for the AM drivers who have to compete in these cars to get into their optimal performance window. As I mentioned just a second ago, GTD is a Pro-Am class. This means that their lineup can have a maximum of 1 platinum or gold rated driver, or for the Rolex 24, 2 gold drivers are permitted, and then the remaining drivers have to be either silver or bronze rated. Now let me give you a brief driver rating explanation so you know the difference between a pro driver and an AM driver. Platinum rated drivers have generally won a championship in a professional category such as Hypercar in the WEC or GTP in Imsa. These drivers are the best of the best. Gold drivers are generally also professional drivers, and generally they're winners of a major sports car championship such as GTD and Imsa. Silver drivers are typically on their way to being a pro and have generally won a significant non-professional series such as Lamborghini Super Trofeo or an endurance race of GT3 level or higher. Bronze drivers are much more vague and generally defined as drivers who have not met a silver rating but are deemed to have the performance of a bronze driver based on their driving in a monitored series. So to recap, generally speaking, a pro is a driver with a platinum or gold rating. These are the best of the best drivers. And an AM driver in this class would be a silver or a bronze rated driver, more in the gentleman driver vein. However, there are some very quick silver drivers. Again, these are drivers who are on their way to becoming a pro after all, and they can be a huge advantage for some of these GTD teams if you have what they call a super silver. Now, GTD often features privateer racing programs that receive little to no financial assistance from manufacturers and usually rely on sponsorships or driver funding to operate. Actually, a large number of GTD teams exist because of the funding that their AM driver in the car brings to the team. There are also other teams that get their sponsorship from a large car dealership chain or a very wealthy business person associated with the team. GTD features one of the most diverse grids in Imsa, and in 2025 we'll see 9 manufacturers competing in the class with 22 entries for the season opening Rolex 24. They include 3 Aston Martin Vantage GT3 Evos, 1 BMW M4 GT3 Evo, which is new to the grid for 2025, 2 Chevy Corvette Z06 GT3Rs, 7 Ferrari 296 GT3s, 1 Ford Mustang GT3, 2 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2s, 1 Lexus RCF GT3, 3 Mercedes AMG GT3 Evos, and 2 Type 992 Porsche 911 GT3Rs. Notably, there will be no Acura and no McLarens represented on the GTD grid this year. Now, spotting a GTD car on track is really easy when you know what to look for. You can identify them by the illuminated green number box on the side of the car, and GT3 cars also feature yellow headlight covers to help spot them. During the races that go into the nighttime hours, GTDs, as well as many other cars of the other classes for that matter, have lights that they add to the car to make it easier for the other drivers, spotters, and faster class cars to spot them on track in the dark. And as I said earlier, one of the things that makes these GT3 cars so great is that they can be run virtually anywhere in the world. This has helped them explode in popularity as they can be run in races such as the Nürburgring 24 hours, the Spa 24 hours, and the 12 hours of Bathurst can all be contested with the same GT3 car. The car can also be raced in other series such as the GT World Challenge or in the World Endurance Championships LMGT3 class, which means they're eligible for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Now, speaking of Le Mans, there's also a secondary championship within IMSA's GTD class that is exclusively for bronze-rated drivers. The championship is called the Bob Akin Award and is awarded to the bronze-rated driver that accumulates the most points over the course of the season. The winner of that award receives an automatic invitation to the following year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. In 2024, Ore Fadani, racing for AWA, captured the win, meaning that he and the team will take their awesome looking Corvette across the Atlantic this June. Now, whether you're a brand new IMSA fan or a lifelong one, you should know about the great racing that IMSA's Support Series has to offer. That's why I put together a playlist with everything you need to know about IMSA's Support Series right here. Huge thank you to all the channel supporters. If you too want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/offintheesses or click that join button below. Once again though, thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great race weekend and doesn't go off in the S's.